my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back for Ready to Love. This is season 7, episode 12, Too Much Baggage. How are you guys doing today on this beautiful Palm Sunday?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm great. How about you? Magnetic repellent?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing great. I'm just wondering why from RTL are we referring to these children all the time as baggage? That's troubling to me.
Yeah, that is problematic. But I'm also thinking that there's other things that we're looking at that when they say the title "Too Much Baggage," maybe we're looking at some of Tony's behavior, for example, which has nothing to do with children, but everything to do with his behavior, and Natasha and this entanglement. We'll get into that in a minute. What do you think, Kimberly? Are they talking about just children or what?
I don't think so. I try to stay away from the topic of children because I don't have any. And it's my preference this time around when dating was my preference to only date men without children. So I kind of see where they come from with that description. Yeah. But people try to say children are a gift from God, and they try to look at the positive side. But you do take on a lot when you are trying to come into a child's life. Is a big responsibility.
Right. When you take on children that are not your own, because I don't think that most people feel like their children are baggage. But when you join hands and you walk this walk of life together with another individual, when they're bringing in children, then I think some people, not saying me, but some people would consider that there's some baggage there, because there's bills to pay, there's shoes to buy, baby needs some new pair of shoes and all of that. There's educations to purchase. There's a whole lot of things going on, and most of it involves money and time and dedication to someone else's child or children.
Yeah.
So
there's no question about it. Them people are very expensive.
those little people, yeah, I know you, you've raised a few yourselves, and so they're not cheap. And Kimberly, to your point, I like what you said. That was very specific to you and to your situation. I do feel, and I tell my daughter this all the time, because she's single young lady, and I tell her, I said, you know what, if you happen to find someone and fall in love, and everything else is in alignment, and that person has children, because she's now over 30. But my preference for her, and I've always taught her this, is that why would you, a woman in her 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, who doesn't have children, why would you just really look at dating guys that have children? I do feel that there's a whole lot to that, because a lot of times it's not even the children. Getting back to your point, Alex, it's not necessarily the children. Sometimes it's the adult people that they're attached to. So, i.e., the ex. The ex-father, or the ex-boyfriend, or the ex-girlfriend, or the ex-wife, or the ex-husband. And now, because look at that guy like James, like with Cynthia, she's got an ex named James that's the father of her children, and he was acting a whole arse on the show not too long ago.
Yeah, right? he's not over her. That's what that is.
Oh, yeah. And not only is he not over her, he's the guy that in his head is thinking, if I can't be with you, no other man is going to be with you. And I don't mean that in a, we sometimes think of that as in a very the word we don't say on YouTube that often, domestic or whatever. Not in that type of way, but just in a very jealous, I'm just going to keep all the men out your life type of way. I don't think anybody really wants to be bothered necessarily with the baby mama, baby daddy drama. Nobody wants to be bothered. That's the baggage.
Yeah, and I agree with what Jay just posted. She said, past trauma, and I think that says a lot about Morgan, because if you have the audacity to put Nair in somebody's head that you claim was just a jump off, or relationship of convenience, then you got issues. You got a whole lot of issues you haven't dealt with.
Yeah, especially when you say that this guy supposedly he was just the fling guy, but now we find out that you put nair in his hair. So to me, I mean, like, what is going on that you like so much drama in your life? I would never think to do that to anybody.
The
Yeah,
thing
same here.
is, the thing is, Aubrey and Kimberly, is that these women nowadays think that they can operate like men. They hope that they can operate like men. So they want to go out here and sleep with this one, sleep with that one, and try to take their feelings out of it. And most women just can't do it. They may enter it thinking, I don't have to feel nothing. It could just be physical. But eventually their feelings are going to get involved. And then they're going to have hurt and pain and all this other kind of stuff because they can't operate the way men been operating. They just can't do it.
I think men can't even operate the way men have been operating. To your point, Alex, I get what you're saying. I think men are better at it, taking their emotions out of it. But then that's where you get when the guy finally wants to get married and be faithful, he can't do it because A, he doesn't have practice with being faithful. B, he's not attached to his emotions any longer. So he's now emotionally unavailable. So men have to look at what their body count does to them too. So I get your point, but that's my point right there. Monique has an interesting comment. She says, "I'm childless and I only seriously date men with 1 to 2 children." And I wanted to know. I'm asking her why. Like why date men that have children? Is there a specific reason? And are you? And also the question to that is too. The follow up. What age bracket of men are you dating primarily?
Yeah.
Oh, and stay tuned. West at Stay Tuned Review says superficial cutty. Is that cutty? Okay, I don't even know. Cutty buddy or cuddly buddy? What is that?
Yes.
Okay. Monique, answer my question. I want to know why men with children and what age bracket are the men in their 30s, 40s? What are the age bracket? 30 to 35, 36. What are you thinking there? Give me some tips on that. And Kimberly, what is it? I just want to get if it's okay to ask you, what is it about dating men that don't have children? What is it about, what is it for you that you like?
For me, I've experienced just feeling that feeling of taking them away from their children, and then I would like my partner to be the first person that we go through that experience with. But all my life, mostly trying to think back, I did date guys with children. It was just more so a standard within the last year or two, and it just
Okay.
always felt more so like guilt of trying to create this new family, knowing that we would be married and then their children wouldn't experience that mother father household living in the house with the dad, but my children would because I refuse to have children before marriage. So that's a whole nother
Oh
topic. But
wow. You know
yeah.
what? I think you're pointing out something that's also going on in this same season. On put a ring on it. The
Mhm.
guy, Joshua, Jasha, he is going through that, I believe, with his girl Joya. He has a child who
Ah,
is living with his ex-wife and her new husband, and then but she wants to have a child with him, but he doesn't want to do it because he's seen how families can break up and then you don't have that day-to-day interaction with your child. Isn't that interesting?
yes,
Yeah.
that's so true.
And you know what, Aubrey, to your earlier point, when you said I don't think men even can do what men doing today, that's very prevalent because a lot of men today have a lot of feminine energy, and we just seeing it. They can't deal with a breakup. They can't deal with
Mhm.
being cheated on. They can't deal with nothing. You know,
No, they
and
really can't.
and I'm like, where's this coming from? It's kind of coming from the fact that the men in their life and their upbringing, in their rearing, had abandoned them. No fathers, no uncles, these kind of things. So they were
Mhm.
raised around women, mothers, aunts, grandmothers, and they got a lot of that feminine energy from that.
Yeah.
And that's how they conduct themselves now in their grown up adult male life. They
Mm,
solve
that's
they solve problems the way their mama or their grandmama would have solved the problems.
right. Well, it's really too. I don't even know if it's that they're solving them the way the women would have solved them, but what it is they're really not in touch with their emotions, nor and more importantly, nor can they regulate and control their emotions the way a mature adult person can. Every adult person should be able to regulate themselves emotionally and stop themselves when there's something telling you to do something that you're going to regret for the rest of your life. You should be able to stop yourself. But people who are immature and underdeveloped, they can't really do that. They don't have
Right.
that
Right.
ability. And that's something that we learn. We learned that as children. I learned it very early. My father used to say, count to 10. Think about what you're about to do.
Right.
Because at 10 or 8 or 9, you might have consequences of a spanking. It's not necessarily that you're going to prison, right? It's a spanking. But as you
Hmm.
get older and you do more serious things and cause more damage and more harm, it could be prison. It could be
Yeah.
losing your life literally, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, like, I feel like that whole thing of putting nair in somebody's hair and that person's hair falling out, where I come from, that could literally have been her life for doing that.
Because that's
Mhm.
assault. That's
That's an
assault.
assault. Absolutely. Absolutely,
Yeah,
Alex. That
and
is
it's
an assault.
premeditated. She said
It
she
Yeah.
researched and found out what she could do without doing time, and the fact that she's still laughing about it all these years later shows immaturity on her part.
Right. Okay. I was just
Mhm.
reading too to find out what. Thank you for that. And Monique had answered my question, so I was reading that. But yeah, like she's still laughing about it. That was the thing. Like I said, okay, well, if you did it, but I guess it was just a few years ago. And Morgan, the sign says underneath that she's like late 30s, but I think we're finding out from an interview done by Blake on another podcast that he's saying that she's in her early 40s. So I don't know these people's age. You
Yeah.
guys tell me that they're older, they're younger. I don't know, but whatever age, by the time you're 22 or 23, you should know better than to harm somebody by putting nair in their hair, if not younger. Like, why is a grown arse woman going around doing this kind of silly stuff? This is really silly. Putting
And
nair in
the,
somebody's hair. Go ahead.
and the shocker for me in this episode was the Tony and Natasha, entanglement. And why did she choose to stay behind Tony with him after she found out?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry, I gotta jump over here to the comment section real quick. I'm loving what some of the great comments we got over here in the comment section. Monique is saying that she's not creating children if we're not married. And she says, I don't need to be married if we aren't having children. And I absolutely agree. I'm trying to figure out what is a 20 something or 30 something getting married for if we're not talking about building a family. I'm not really sure what that's about. Like, really? Like, it's like even on put a ring on it. Like she's sticking around with some guy that really isn't ready to make any more children. I mean, she should push on. I really think so. But let's go ahead and get into this episode, guys, right? You ready?
Yes.
Ready,
Okay.
ready.
Ready, ready, right. Okay, so we open up with Tommy, uncle, nephew, cousin Tommy. He's everybody's friend, and we love cousin, uncle, nephew Tommy. And the four
Yes.
men who are left, the top of the food chain, these four men are in the gentleman's lounge, and Tommy reminds them that this is going to be the last time that we'll be meeting here. So we know we're headed toward the finale after this. Um, Tommy tells them that their family will help them this week to decide which woman is the one for them. And then he reminds them that, every family has a Pookie and them. And we may not call them Pookie, but, we all got cousins and uncles that are the Pookies, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Pookie and Ray Ray in them.
Pookie and Ray Ray and them. Exactly, exactly. We see Tony's sister, Regina, is meeting up with his choice, his top pick and only pick at this point, which is Morgan. What did you guys think about the meeting with Morgan and Regina, Tony's sister?
Kimberly?
I think it was, I'll jump right into the counseling part where
Mm-hmm.
thankfully Morgan is fully aware that they need help already. And I'm grateful. I believe in going to counseling when you're dating before marriage for sure, because you
Mm-hmm.
really need to see a second opinion, a third opinion, whatever. So I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of side eyeing Regina for saying, no, you don't need to do that, or that's weird, I think she said. But I guess it's because maybe she's just like her brother. But any time
Yeah,
you're coming into a
right.
relationship, you grew up in two separate households, you are going to bump heads and you're going to need someone else's opinion to come in and help guide you. And like Morgan said, investigate the red flags, because she's clear there are red flags with Tony already. So I'm glad
Oh
she
yeah.
acknowledged that. and
Mm-hmm.
she's willing to do the work. And it sounds like Tony would be on board.
Yeah,
Mm.
it does. It does. He was being stifled, I felt like a little bit by his sister. But go ahead, Alex. You
Hmm.
were going to say your thoughts, and thank you for that, Kimberly.
Yeah, look, I believe in couples counseling. I believe in premarital counseling. However, I
Mm-hmm.
believe in individual counseling as well. You have to come into this thing a whole person. And I
Yeah.
Yes.
think Morgan got a whole lot of issues she hasn't dealt with yet as a single person to bring to somebody, as a whole
Yeah.
person.
Good point. Good point. Like, what would you say, for example, just briefly, what would you say that you observe about her that she's bringing to this party?
Well, first of all, of course, the Nair thing stands out. Okay, if
Right.
if Tony's sister had heard about that Nair incident, she probably would have flipped her lid and
Uh,
looked at her brother crazy. You
right.
know, um, and then Morgan appears to me too, like Kimberly said earlier, to like the bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Knowing that this stuff, these entanglements are going on, Tony has spoken to her any old kind of way. He's been insensitive, whatever, and she still wants to push for this thing. And the question
Right.
is, why?
Why? Yeah, that is the question. I think I'm wondering if it's because she's actually liking toxic and dramatic relationships. If that's the person that she really is. Like my father used to say when I was a young girl growing up, and I didn't understand it then, but then I really came to see that he was accurate. That a lot of women don't think a man loves them unless he's you know, cheating on them, unless he's physically doing something to them. They just don't think it's a real relationship unless there's some negative stuff. And I think that sometimes comes from our homes that we grow up in. We see a lot of damage and a lot of destructions sometimes in our homes of origin, right? And then we take that into
Yes.
our relationships without even recognizing that we had these parents that were doing all these crazy things around us, bringing all these boyfriends, bringing all these girlfriends around us, and that they weren't stable in their relationships, and we take it into our next relationships as we become adults. I think that really does happen,
Exactly.
you know. So
Yep.
you're right. You're right, though, Alex. You don't disagree that counseling is a good thing, but you also are wondering if she should get individual. They should get individual counseling, and I think you're right. But I want to ask one last question before we move on. Did anybody notice that when Tony first was telling his sister that he thinks that this is really the one, that she basically laughed in his face and said again? Did anybody catch
Mm,
that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Well, she knows her brother. She knows her brother. She knows him to be a slinger. Okay, and she
Okay, that's it. That's my
and she
thing.
don't
Yep.
and she don't see any woman taming him at this point. She just don't see that.
Right. That's what I was saying. I said, people have to be very careful when you're actually meeting the family. These family members actually know your person, who you think is your person, better than you do. Like she's grown up around this man. She's seen how he's had entanglements and dated other women and had two and three women and been messing around. And how old is Tony anyway? What is he, like 42 and never married?
Right. Yeah.
I'm always wondering about them guys. They push up over 40 and they've never been married. I'm always wondering about them. Are they even marriage material? Nothing wrong. I'm not saying anything's wrong with them. You can stay single your whole freaking life. I don't care. I don't know who's gonna change your pampers when you get older, but I don't care. But but
Right.
I just think that when a man gets 40 something and he still ain't been married, I mean, like I just start wondering. I
I,
don't know. That's just me.
I had the same concern with Morgan. Aubrey was talking about, or was it Mercedes? I've never been in love, never. I'm like,
Mm.
really?
Oh yeah, who was that? Kimberly, who was that? Break the tie, because who was that said they had never been in love? Was that Morgan?
Oh man, I'm not sure.
Guys out in
Oh,
the audience, out in the chat, and if you're on the replay, drop down in the comments and let us know which person was that this season, because we know there's always someone that's never ever been in love. Who was that? Do you guys
Yeah,
mm,
remember?
between Morgan and Mercedes, and the question is, how are you in your mid 30s, upper 30s, or even 30 and never
Right.
be in love?
That's weird to me. That's really, really weird. That's a case to me where you're underdeveloped. You don't trust people. There's a whole lot going on because we see that, Kimberly. We see that on Married at First Sight with Eris, right?
right.
He's never
Yeah,
been in
that's where
love.
my mind went when you asked straight to Eris.
Very, very underdeveloped person right there. So that really tells me a lot. Plus, it's somebody that can't trust people. And if you can't trust people, you're right. You cannot be in love. You cannot
Nope.
be in love without trusting the person. So that tells me that you have a fear. You have a lot of fear in you. And that's very unhealthy. But very good points about these two people. Um so we find out that on the other side of town, Anthony tells Chris about Cynthia. You know, Chris, I think was Chris his brother or his cousin? I'm not sure, but family member. And
Cousin.
his cousin. Okay, his cousin. Uh, Anthony tells Chris about Cynthia's ex, James, and this is where I'm talking about the baggage is at, because he's talking about the ex, James, and how rude he was and how assertive he was, overly assertive at his meeting when he met her ex, and that just really ridiculous. You know how James quizzed her exes about things like that. And wondering how this will be. What would a relationship be like with this woman? Let's welcome in Jay. Welcome in Jay. The question I was asking the panel was, what would it be like? What did you guys think about Anthony and his cousin basically talking about Cynthia's ex? That's the topic of conversation. So it's not really the children necessarily that are the baggage. It's oftentimes it's the ex that came with the children. And where are they in your lives right now? And do you put them in their place and give them boundaries that you're dating other people and they can't dictate to you what you do with the rest of your life?
Mm. Well, Aubrey, I'm gonna tell you this
Mhm.
about guys like this. One, he still wants Cynthia. He's not over her. Okay.
Well, have you seen Cynthia? Who doesn't want Cynthia? She's
Yeah.
absolutely drop dead gorgeous. All the women are.
You know what I love about Cynthia? I love her voice. Her voice gets to me. I love it. I love the way she talks. She has a accent that I can't really describe where she's from, but I love her
Okay.
accent. Okay.
Okay. All right.
But the thing is that he still wants her. He's using the children as a buffer to try to say, "Oh, okay, I just want to know who's around my children. I want to know what's best for them." But it's really him. Okay, that's old game. That's old school game, and that's what he's doing. So he's trying to scare it. He's trying to scare the guys off.
Yep.
So when she have no other options, she'll take him back.
Right. Because he's the only man left standing. You were absolutely right. And I feel like you got a good point. I feel like though too, Cynthia keeps saying, well, you know, when the cousin asked her about it, she says, well, I'm going to get him in his place. I'm going to put him in his place and I'm going to tell him this or that and the other thing and the third. But here's the thing. He should have never came on that first date when he met your choices, and he should have never came across so assertively. You should have gotten him in his place before the date. And you should do that on a consistent basis and tell him that until he gets his attitude together, that he won't have a bigger picture or point in your life, that he's just to deal with those kids and not to be dealing with you. Because if you don't get him in check, you're a beautiful lady, but you know, your 30s are gonna whiz by like that. Trust me, babe, they're gonna whiz by, the 40s gonna whiz by, and you still dealing with this crazy Negro because you haven't put him in check. That's the thing. Kimberly, what are your thoughts? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jay.
Can we be slightly honest though? We got to get that man credit. We're not really sure if James is totally like this outside of these cameras or whatnot. He could have been just showing out for the cameras. He could have also been egged on by her, like we see Mark Anthony doing this episode with his cousin, talk about grilling. So we're not for sure if this is their dynamic on a regular. Now, just going out to those people that's dynamic is like this on a regular. Yes, you do need to get it in check, but that could have just been something while the cameras is rolling, just to show out and, you know, come at them guys.
Well, Jay, all we got to go on, Jay, is what we see.
Yeah, that's all we have to go on. But I'm saying you can't hold him to it just because that's all we got to go on either, though.
I think though, for him to even put on an act like that, to me, it's just like Alex always says, what is it? A drunken mind speaks a sober heart. I think that in order for him to even put that kind of energy and effort forward, I think that's in him. That's me.
But what I'm saying is the word she uses later on is not I'll get him together or whatever. She said you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So that means it's already handled.
Right, but you know what? But here's my thing though too. Do you believe what you hear more, or do you believe what you see? because I believe more of what I see.
I believe half of what I see and all of what I know. But
Hmm.
you know what
Okay.
I'm saying? I
And
got a baby daddy that would show out. If I be like, go ahead and show out, he'll show out. But I'll tell you, it's handled.
okay. Okay. Well, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so because you saying that and that may be true in your situation, but like Alex says, we can only go by what we see. We can only go by what we see.
And that's what I'm
Now,
saying. You can
now,
only go by what she's telling them as well, too. It's like with the situation with Tony and Morgan, when Tony says, you can only trust what I'm saying. So if she says she got it handled, then
I,
men gonna
I
have to hope and believe she got it handled.
I believe less of what she's saying than what I saw. So that's just me. But
Yeah.
Kimberly, what are your thoughts? Weigh in on it.
I I agree. I believe that's just how that man is, and he is going to run away. Some good men,
Yeah,
because some people were saying, "Oh, Andre was, intimidated, and he left early." But then we had Anthony came back as well and said that he was not impressed by James at all. Either he did not like the energy of James, and it's like he really didn't want to deal with him either. So I could see this side of James pushing people away, even if Anthony doesn't work out, a future man who may have seen her on the show and seen that part, I wouldn't want to be around that man.
Y'all discrediting God's power. Ain't no man to push away what God has for you. Okay. If you can't handle that baby daddy, then it's probably not for you.
well, I agree, but like I said, it's just we're looking at it from I think from a general standpoint, not saying who God has sent for you and this and that, but
Mhm.
I think that most men don't like to be bucked up to. Because here's the thing, and I'm gonna just say this: two men bucking up against each other, that usually don't end well.
Right.
Okay, that usually don't end well. So now your baby daddy bucking up against me, and I'm your new man. Now I'm gonna do one or two things. I'm gonna walk away, or it's not gonna end well. So either way, she's still without a man, and that's all I'm
God
saying.
sent or not.
Yeah,
It's
God
not.
sent
It,
God.
it
Ain't no
wouldn't go.
God sin or not.
Go ahead, Jay.
Don't
What you
put
want to
God up
say?
in that.
No, you're the one that was saying that when
I'm
God sent
saying y'all trying to say she be without a man, God sin or not. No. Don't do it no mess. Don't try to put God in that.
right, but I
When I'm
just that's what
saying,
I'm saying.
what I'm saying, when you have your faith in what God has for you, ain't no way he gonna buck up and your baby daddy ain't gonna buck up at him. It's gonna be mutual respect because that's the man God sent.
Well, but you're saying that, and here's the thing, and we're getting a little off track, but I'm gonna just say this: you're saying that about God sending somebody. God works in our lives, all of our lives, right? Okay. But the other thing about it, God expects us to do what we can do, and if she's allowing this man to act, and we're gonna only go by what we see, if she's allowing this man to be all assertive with both guys, because we know that supposedly that Andre said something that wasn't caught on camera that Ron told us about. Okay, fine. But he was acting assertive and ungentlemanly with both of the men. So I'm just saying that's a real thing. And so whether God sends them or not, no man is going to sit up and let another man emasculate them, talk down to them, talk crazy to them. There is no black man that's walking around with a peen that's going to allow that to happen. That's just it.
We're
That's
gonna
in
put
my
a pin on this. We're gonna put a pin in this. I'm gonna wait till
yeah.
something. I'm gonna wait till something else happens, and I'm gonna see how the reaction is on something else. We're gonna put a pin on
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right. All right. Very good. Very good. And we got some comments down here. Jay, you can find Jay at another round here on YouTube, by the way. Subscribe to her channel. Go over, check her out. She has excellent content. And she will let her opinion be known. And that's what we love about her. Roro says that Anthony handled the dumb ex better. Yeah, he did. He absolutely did because you know what? He stayed in his own frame. Unlike Andre, he stayed in his own frame. But if you notice, he's still saying that that's the issue for him. Even though he stayed in his frame and he handled him better, he doesn't want to be bucked up to either. Like I said, I don't think men walk around just looking for other men to buck up to them because usually when two men buck up to one another, guess what? It's a fight. It's a full on fight. And about
yeah,
what?
yeah. With me, it's not going to end well with me.
No.
You
I
know.
know it. I know it's not going to end well with you because you a fighter. And
Yeah.
Alex,
most
I
men
just don't
are
see that
able
in you,
to fight.
Alex. I just see you as a lover, Alex.
Ooh, tell her she don't know about back in the day, back in them New
Wait,
York days, does she?
Audrey.
All
Alex,
right.
I just really see you as a lover. I don't really see it in you.
I hollered. You stop that. Do it one more time, Jay. One more time. Jay, one more time.
Alex, I just, I really look at you as a lover, not a fighter. So if you can please not fight for me,
The
I'll
girl
appreciate
is
it.
mine. The doggone girl is mine.
I'm giving Jeffrey.
You guys, we having too much fun up in here. I'm telling you, Alex, go ahead and sing that song. And Jay, you are perfect. You are spot on with that baby voice. Okay, all right.
Yes.
I'm not gonna
You
hold
better
you
watch
up.
out. I'm going to come for her voiceover job.
Right.
Oh
Let's see here.
boy.
Let's get back into my notes. Cynthia is, and the thing about it is, this so kind of hurtful about this situation is, like I say, if it's true that the ex is just bucking up to all the men in her life just to keep him out of her life so he can be there for her, because she is so beautiful and so likable. Okay, I really like Cynthia. I don't know why I didn't. I guess there was so much craziness and drama going on between Morgan, between Jeffrey, and the baby voice and all that. I knew that Cynthia was beautiful. She was gorgeous, but I am liking her so much in these later episodes. I think that she is just a true gem, and some man will be very fortunate to have her. But moving on to Morgan, seems to want to put. I said that Morgan seemed to want to put all of her eggs in the wrong basket, literally her eggs in the wrong basket. If you catch that little joke, and Tony seems to be a guy that really likes the ladies. I mean, I seen that from day one. He was one. I talk about Jay getting back to talking about the Lord. When we met Tony, wasn't he talking about his mother was a pastor, preacher woman, and he was all into the Lord and to Jesus? And I ain't heard him say nothing about Jesus in the last 6 episodes.
Well, we know most of them PK kids, most, not all, a
Hmm.
little rough around the edges when it comes to keeping it spiritual. But he did keep saying that. That's the only thing he does say is that him and Morgan got a spiritual connection. He can't say
Mm.
nothing else about her.
Well, yeah, but I'm wondering if that spiritual connection then turned into a fleshly connection. That's the feeling that I'm.
They're definitely doing heavenly things.
Hot and heavy time has taken place, because the connection that the two of them seem to have seems to be based on more than just the spiritual. It seems like maybe, and to Alex's point, that women, when we release ourselves and have this hot and heavy time with a man, oftentimes we find ourselves connected in a very strong way, because she seems very strongly connected. But we're going to move on to Andre's sister and his niece come to meet his top two. Now, out of all the men, he's the only man, Mr. Tendril himself. He has got 2 top connections, right? His sister, when he's telling her about both of the women before the women arrive, he says that Jeffrey has 3. He describes her as an angel, and then he just tries to slide in real quick. But she has 3 children. And his sister says, "What, 3?" And then she says, "Well, what about the other lady, Cynthia?" He says, "Well, yeah, but she has 2." And she's like, I do not like that. Now, Jay, what do you think? Well, we talked a little bit before you had joined us. What do you think about our children baggage?
Sometimes the little things is, my child was a baggage. No, just playing. Carrying her all around.
Oh Lord, please, Jay,
No,
child, don't be listening to your mom on this
it's not
podcast.
baggage in a bad way. I'm just talking about
Yeah.
carrying her around all them years. But
Okay.
no, children are not baggage or whatnot. It's sometimes, like I wrote in the chat, it's the baby daddy or the baby mama, the extra stuff that comes with it. But in
Mm.
some people's opinions that may not want children or ever or right now, yes, that may be looked at as baggage.
Mm.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not nice to say, but it is with the term that we have gotten. We might have to find another word for it, but
Yeah. And I guess though too, to her sister's point, like I said, I was saying earlier, I do understand when you are young, when you or you don't or middle age and you don't have children yourself, somebody else's children, thinking that you're going to marry them and be in relationship with them, and you're not going to have to provide. Particularly Jeffrey, who has claimed that neither of the fathers of her children are involved. They're not involved financially. They're not involved physically, emotionally. So there's no involvement. So she really needs a man that's going to be able to step up and be the whole entire dad, right?
can I say this in that situation too? The baggage might be a different type of baggage. It might not necessarily be the child per se, but the child's mentality, because you are missing your parents for whatever the reason is. That can
Okay.
be some baggage to take on, even for that parent themselves.
Mm.
Because that's a whole mental thing that we have to think about, that a child, a lot of times we're adults, we don't know how to talk to our child through some of these adult issues that we're having with the other parent. And we don't never talk to our child to see how our child is actually taking that thing. So they lash out in different ways. And sometimes it lashes out at that new person that comes in trying to help and be there for them. But because it's not that parent, they feel some type of way. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Okay, yeah.
Something, ladies, is with me. You have to want to commit. If you commit to that woman and you love that woman, you have to be equally committed to her children. When I married my second wife, she had a son already. I adored him. We're still close today. He's 30 years old. He's a 31-year-old man. Okay. We're still very close today because, when I came into his life, we just embraced one another, had an understanding. This is what it's going to be. You do have a father, okay, that's in your life. I'm not trying to be that. You have to show commitment and interest in the things that they like. It's a certain things that you have to do to come in as a stepdad or bonus dad or whatever they're calling this stuff now. But if you won't commit,
Alex, on that. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just saying, but you have to be equally committed to that woman and her child. They're connected. You can't have one without the other.
But I say vice versa for those that are coming in to a father with his child, like Anthony, for example. You know what I'm saying? You have to, as a woman, be committed. But sometimes that doesn't happen, especially when she comes in to a situation pregnant by this man. And now she's pregnant with his new child. And I got to take on the old child because things might have happened between the mother and stuff. And now he got custody of the child or something that she didn't expect. It'd be a lot. These situations be a lot. That's probably why God say just get married and don't do nothing else.
Yeah, it is a lot.
You know what? I just thought of a more, maybe it probably doesn't sound, could be derogatory too, but it's actually realistic. I think the better word for children when someone is seriously dating and looking for marriage, I think there's basically they are kind of complications. They can be complications, because like you said, it requires a lot of commitment on both sides, on both mate side as they're thinking about joining unions. And then I also had a thought though too, just going even further out. I had a girlfriend years ago when she remarried, and she had a child from her first marriage. He had a child from a previous relationship, and they joined families, and she became pregnant with his child. The thing about it though, his teenage son or near teen, his son became like a wedge between the two of them because he was basically in the house trying to pull them apart. And that's the thing. Like you can be married to someone and this person have a child, and if they're old enough and conscious enough, and they can be younger than a teenager, they can literally not want, this new person to be with their mom or their dad, and they can cause a whole lot of havoc. And this kid ended up causing a whole lot of havoc. Okay?
Yeah, the great manipulators. That's what children can be if you allow it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you guys ever listen to Kevin Samuels, he kind of spoke on that a bit. I won't say how he worded it was right, but he spoke on it a bit.
I don't think too much of what Kevin Samuels worded was correct in a lot of ways, because it was very mean spirited, in my opinion. The parts that I have caught of him, very mean spirited, so I wouldn't take that into, but grain of salt. Okay, so I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if we're calling these people bonus dads and moms or stepdads and mom. And is there a difference? I don't know if there's a difference. It just sounded like maybe some of the women were saying that the bonus dad doesn't have to do as much as a stepdad. So I don't know.
What they mean is they mean that the biological father is present in the child's life. So you're the bonus dad. He got two dads now. If the biological father is not present in Jeffrey's case, then you're a stepdad.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Okay. So Tony meets up with Morgan. Now this is after the sister meeting. That's over with. So now Tony goes to meet up, independent of his sister, to meet up with Morgan to talk about her earlier meeting with his sister and why she wants counseling and what his sister thinks about it. But she turns the conversation around to talk about he and Natasha's entanglement. I want to get Kimberly in here right quick. Kimberly, what were you thinking when you heard about that Tony had an entanglement with a woman who was only on the show for 1 week?
Ooh, didn't she turn that conversation around? I was so glad that I had already seen the clip before the episode aired. Like it wasn't a surprise because I don't even know if I would have been able to focus. But honestly, I'm not surprised. We know this type of thing happens on the show. You can tell from the energy, and just people being I don't want to say the word easy, but some people are easy. Like that's why I went so hard for LJ when they talked about him and his little situation with the lady he was actually dating prior to
Right.
coming on the show, because so many people come on this show and have the hot and heavy time with someone they only knew a week or two or even a month. And I don't understand how it's any better, how they aren't getting the heat. But I am just ready to see how Natasha feels that Tony put all this information out for the world to see without her being around. I would have been so upset with Tony for putting all my business out there like he did on the show, first to the men's lounge. He brought it up. And then, of course, in the conversation we are at now with Tony and Morgan. But the fact that Morgan knew that even before this conversation and before letting Lyndon go home, according to some commenters on my channel, it further proves that she's not looking for the good guy. She wants the toxic. She wants to put some more nair in the hair, and she deserves Tony. They deserve each other.
Mm. Mm.
Wow. Well, that's a good point. That's a good point because that's what I'm seeing too. Like, what if you pick toxic, then you get toxic, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he come out there. I mean, I said early on that he's coming out here with the Jesus hustle. The old Jesus hustle was classic.
You said it. You said it. Yep.
It's classic because you get people's guard down. You get them to start trying to trust you. Well, if he's a God-fearing man, then I can trust him. That's where the hustle part comes in. If you're a God-fearing man, you don't sleep with a woman after a week.
Hello.
Or you don't sleep with her without the benefit of marriage if you're a God-fearing man. So I knew that early on about him. I'm not surprised that he had this entanglement. The surprise is, why is Morgan sticking around all the things that Tony has shown her? Okay, the entanglement, being insensitive, talking to her any old kind of way, not being there when she needed him, all these different type of things that she has seen. Yet she still pushed Lyndon to the side to pursue Tony. And she has pursued Tony. Let's not get it twisted.
Ooh,
okay?
All right.
He has been standing back watching this pursuit because obviously he was busy in other people. Okay? So he's been watching her pursue him. And that's what she's been doing.
Jay, what are your thoughts about this?
Okay, so let's rewind. First of all, Tony's fault is telling Morgan. Morgan put it out there. Tony had to follow up on it. Morgan came to that table putting Natasha's name in it. She didn't have to say no names. She could have kept it real cool, classy, and neutral and just say, who you did what with. And that was it. But she decided to do the extras. And on top of the extras, continue to go hard at that woman for what? The man right there is the one who did whatever he did. You don't have nothing to do with that woman. You're entangled with that man. So you need to go to that man. She gone. She gone off the show. She don't know what's going on the show. None of this stuff like that. That's him that know what he's doing. So your energy need to be directed at him. I see that she never gave that energy to Marcia. She didn't give that energy to anybody else that he was entangled with, so to speak.
Yeah, now, Jay, how would you feel if within the first few minutes of, if you're Morgan, and within the first few minutes of discussing this entanglement, Tony spends the next few minutes defending Natasha and defending the entanglement? Now, as a woman, from your perspective, how would you feel?
First of all, I'm not Morgan, so I can't look at from Morgan's thing. She reacted how Morgan reacted. How Jay would react was, I got the information. There's no need for me to sit there and even have this conversation with you on camera. The production might have wanted me to have a conversation. I'm not going to out that girl, but the conversation have been more like, you did what you did. Thank you for telling me. We were not ready to love. I done seen enough.
Right. Yeah.
I done seen enough.
That was not classy at all on her part. If she was going to bring up, the entanglement, or bring up that you told me something about this woman, it was up to him to fill in the blanks, whatever he wanted to fill in on camera. I thought he was both ungentlemanly. I definitely thought she was very unladylike. And then for her to get all amped up, to your point, Jay, I never could understand, like, even in a marriage where two people are married to one another, and there's something happens where the husband goes outside of the marriage and he cheats on his wife. I never understand, why is the wife upset with the other woman? She didn't take vows with you. She didn't promise to love and cherish you, to be faithful to
Right.
you. He did. So deal with him. Deal with him. He's the one that you're related to. Don't be trying to deal with the other woman. Deal with him.
But
Now, where
Aubrey,
he
You
lost
got
major
men
grace
out.
with me.
Go
He
ahead.
lost major grace with me in the men's lounge because he didn't have to tell the details of anything still. That was his
Just
choice in that one.
Right, just trifling, and trying to pump his chest out and feel like a man and feel 2 feet taller. That was very disgusting. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Alex. You were going to say something.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, many times it's like, okay, if the guy cheats or have an affair, or whatever, the woman doesn't know the other woman, she has to get mad at her husband. Period. Point blank. But a lot of times, the infiltrators are the ones closest to you, a cousin, a best friend, that end up sleeping with your husband. Sometimes even a sister. Okay, so what do you do in those circumstances? You can't just say I'm blaming him
No,
when you
and those
allow me.
Okay,
them
you bring it up.
circumstances,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead,
and
Jay.
them circumstances, yeah, that's a person that's close to you that knows that knows you're with
Right.
this man. When you don't know, Natasha don't know what's going on in this process. She's not there.
Mhm.
It'd be different if Natasha was there watching them hook up and all this stuff like that, but she's not there. She can only go off of what Tony is telling her.
Yeah, I was addressing Aubrey's point. That's what
Yeah,
I was
but
addressing.
I think you're giving a lot of extra. I think you're giving that filmmaker, and I'm not denying that doesn't happen, Alex. I absolutely agree that those things do happen, but oftentimes it's not that. It's not a best friend. It's not a sister. It's not a whatever. It's actually some strange woman that your man has went out and found at work, at the coffee shop, at the club, wherever, online. Okay, and it's just because he's a whore. He's a whore and he's a cheat, and you need to acknowledge that, and you need to have the discussions and deal with, and the consequences should be for him. If you're talking about something that actually happens where this is someone's sister or aunt or mother, God forbid, okay, like Jay said, that's something totally different. But oftentimes it is not somebody's sister, twin sister. It's not their auntie. It's some random person that your husband has went out and found because he's a nasty F boy. Okay? He's immature. He doesn't know how to be in relationships and be exclusive. And he doesn't have the courage to tell you that. Rather than tell you that he's an F boy, he wants to pretend like he's a husband or a boyfriend that's faithful. That's the problem.
And we know why Morgan is outing Natasha, because she just has that dirty, vindictive side to her. We know that about her already. Even Tommy said in the men's confessional that, listen, we know how she is when she get angry, Tony. So be careful. Okay. So, Tommy's warning Tony. All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is why she's outing Natasha, because she just has that in her to do that.
Well, and I think though the thing we got to remember, you're right. She does have it. She does have a vindictive spirit from what we've heard and seen on the show. Also, though, one thing I really appreciate this season, outside of the other seasons, that Tommy is doing a better job of calling the men on their crap. Because several times, if you recall, Tommy has asked Morgan in the ladies' lounge. He has said, "How many red flags has Tony shown you? How many?" He
Right.
said that more than 1 week, and she's still up there blushing like a 16-year-old girl saying, "Well, yeah, I know, but still, I still like him. I still like him. I still choose him, even though he's a jerk, he's an arsehole. I still choose him." Girl, bye. If you just want your life to be drama filled, continue to pick the toxic man like you do, and you will continue to have a toxic life, which is why you're 42 with no kids and no husband. Okay?
Mm, mm. Yep, that's about it.
Well, if you
Kimberly,
continue
see
to
you.
blame the woman,
Oh, right. Well, which would be foolish. But Kimberly, you get in here because you had the right idea, like you said. Why date Kimberly? Come on in here, jump on in here with your opinion, because I got a headache almost.
Yeah, you're good, but yeah, I'm just still stuck on why Tony felt the need to bring it up multiple times. Like you said, I guess it was just his little uh poking his chest out moment to say, yeah, I did that. And I just can't wait to see what happens if Natasha comes to the reunion, if they're going to speak on that. I just wish they would have kind of left that out because they're not the only couple, I am pretty sure, who have done this. So it's just interesting to see them bring it out and multiple times on the episode talk about him sleeping around with whoever, because honestly, that's just what people do. I'm out here, I've been in the dating world for a long time. It's very tough for me being someone who believes in celibacy, abstaining, whatever your choice of word is. It's very difficult. People look at you and say, oh, you're crazy, whatever. And it's the norm to do exactly what Tony and Natasha did, unfortunately.
And we've seen this in other seasons, Kimberly. We've seen
Right.
this in DC, allegedly with Phil and Shiloh, allegedly with some others. We've seen this in other seasons. It happens when people are in close proximity.
Yes.
You got these handsome men, these pretty women, and they constantly in close proximity. It's going to happen, unfortunately.
What's going to happen, Alex?
There's going to be some entanglements. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
People are going to put the toys aside. As someone said earlier, they all need to just have their toys on standby.
Okay. So much for PG-13 now. But you're right. That's a whole nother thought. Getting back to old Tony, I had to say, I wrote in my notes, what would Jesus do? Talking about his whole religious walk. I mean, he's just doing so much extra. But I think that the lady, she should have kept it cute. To Jay's point, she should have kept it real cute and not tried to muck up another woman's character on screen. It's just some things. I don't care. This is a show. You trying to get more camera time, whatever. Morgan, you've already gotten a lot of camera time. You're so beautiful, but what is that saying, JP? People used to tell us when we were growing up, pretty is as pretty does, right?
Yeah. I want to get Natasha on the show now. I want to interview Natasha.
All right. Well, you know what to do. You good. You're good with them slinky. I'm sorry. Anyway. But anyway, not giving all your past away. But Mark Anthony meets up with Jeffrey, baby voice, as we like to call her, to see why she is pulling away from him. And I like it that she finally just goes ahead and does the best thing for him and for her. She tells him that she's afraid and she's not willing to take a risk with him. And they kind of, politely, gently part ways because he agrees that Dre's a good man. And that is that. Anybody have any comments or thoughts about that scene?
No surprises for me.
Okay.
We knew this early on. Mark Anthony will not be the one for Jeffrey. He don't
have the money.
He don't have the money. He don't have the children. He's younger than she is. Yep. And it just was not a good fit. He was thinking more with his loins than with common sense.
Yes, he was. Yes, he absolutely was. He seemed to be thinking with his loins. And, we're going to get into it in a minute about his whole thing, what's really going on with him, too, because he's starting to sound more like a F-boy. Like, I'm wondering, what is going on? You got all this information coming out at the very end. Like, really? Wait a minute. West of Stay Tuned Reviews says that Jeffrey essentially used Mark Anthony and Blue to stay on the show. Well, yeah, duh. Does anybody else feel like that? That maybe she used these guys to stay on the show? Jay?
And we've seen that before too.
Yeah, we have. Jay?
Of course she did. I mean, hell, I would have too.
Yeah, that's the way the game is played. I mean, like we're saying that Jeffrey is one of the, if not the strongest player that we've ever seen in 7 or 8 seasons. She is playing this doggone game now. So to your point, Alex, she is acting like a man out there playing that game all strategically and playing chess and not checkers. But yes, she's using her pseudo femininity.
Mm.
Mm, mm,
What,
mm.
whatever.
Well, and continuing on with Mark Anthony in a new scene, Mark Anthony is talking to his cousin on Zoom, and he tells him about his girl, his choice, Mercedes. Um, Anthony. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Okay. So he sets up this scene, and Mercedes comes in, but we find out from the cousin, not from Mark Anthony, that he is thinking about leaving Florida, moving all the way back to New York. Like what? Mercedes seems shocked. What do you guys think about that?
I was shocked too. Because
Me.
I didn't see him telling Jeffrey none of that either. I'm like, oh, so what the heck are we really doing?
Right. Like right. I said, say what now? You doing what? Huh?
The minute he get on that plane, the relationship is over.
It's over. It's over before that. Because if his cousin is telling me that, and then off camera, if he and I have a conversation and he's agreeing that that's the case, and he hadn't told me before the cousin did, it's over with at that point. It's already done. It's a done deal.
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna do New York to Miami. We're not gonna
That's
do
too
that.
far. It's just too far.
Well, now I just wait a minute. I got to back up a minute. Let me rethink this because now she is a full blown flight attendant, and so she
Mhm.
can travel and go to New York whenever she wants. So, does anybody feel like that's okay? That's going to work out because she is a flight attendant.
Yeah,
If it
I think
wants to.
so.
I'm sorry,
We have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Kimberly.
Yeah, I think so. I think the bigger issue is just the fact that she hadn't heard about this before now. So what have they been talking about? I know we know they have the connection and they're all over each other in that way, but why wasn't this a conversation that happened early on? I don't think the distance would be the problem, as long as you have a good communicator and you're able to communicate your needs, and then the person is willing to do what needs to be done to satisfy that distance, and then you plan to meet here and there, kind of like our previous couple did, Clifton and Joy. So
Mm-hmm.
it's doable, but my concern is just why haven't they talked about this before now?
Yeah, that point. Jay, you thank you for that, Kimberly. Jay, you were going to say something also about this.
Yeah. To be honest, a lot of the past couples don't live like real super close to each other either. Like when they left the thing, Swayze and Kadian live
Mm-hmm.
miles apart from each other. There's other people that live in different spots. I mean, I know part of the reason why Donovan and Karma didn't work is they both live in two different areas, but some people are
Mm-hmm.
willing to make it work and some people it just gonna fall by the wayside.
Yeah, I think in this day, this modern era where everybody has so many choices, men and women have so many choices, and his outstanding good looks, I just don't think that he's gonna be sitting around twiddling his thumb, thinking about her. And I don't think that she needs to be sitting around twiddling her thumb thinking about him. That's just me. In my early 30s, no, I'm not, sir. If we've not made a commitment, a formal commitment, i.e. engagement, I'm not going to be sitting around twiddling my thumb thinking about you like that in two different states. You're not
Can we be honest
available.
though? You think she gonna be sitting around thinking about him too much long herself either?
Say that again, Jay.
Do you think she'll be sitting around thinking about him too much after the show is done either though? I mean, like after he moves, seriously,
No,
she a beautiful girl herself, so
no, that's what I just said. I don't know if you heard me correctly, but that's what I just said. I don't think he is or she is. Neither one of them. Exactly. Neither one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's just him. I mean, she is beautiful. The people. Let me just say this. First of all, he's exceptionally handsome. He's one of the top guys for me in terms of looks. But as far as the cast itself, these women on this show, this season 7, Miami Part 2, they are the most gorgeous women I have seen on this show, period. Collectively, they're all gorgeous. You go over to their IG pages, I mean, it's phenomenal. Even on just watching the show, I mean, I can't tell who's got. They got figures, they got the body yaddies, they got the faces. I mean, like what they have it all. They really do have it all. So no, I don't think she's gonna be sitting around twiddling her thumb. I know I
I'm
wouldn't
not
be.
just talking about because she's beautiful like that or whatever. It's just
Mhm.
the energy that we've been getting from both of them, so to speak, is neither one of them are in that place where they seem like they truly want to settle down. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
no,
getting from them both.
Okay.
I get it. I get it. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I agree with that too. I don't think either of them are. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's a to the bigger point. You're right about that. Okay, so we're wrapping it up. We're coming around the corner here now. Uncle, nephew, cousin Tommy welcomes the men back into the last lounge. And Anthony discusses that his cousin was cool with Cynthia. Tony's sister Regina liked Morgan, but didn't agree with the whole counseling thing. Do you guys feel like that the whole counseling or coaching, like, and Tommy said they're the same thing. Tony wants to say that she misworded it or whatever. Do you think that if you met someone and you were ready to date them, do you think that you would really want to sit down and do counseling just with a new love or what?
I
Kimberly?
think it's need. I think it's needed. Sorry, I'm sorry, Aubrey. Kimberly,
Go
you go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go. You're talking now. Go ahead.
Okay, I think it's needed. A lot of times in the beginning of these relationships, if you're going to commit to somebody, because people have so much that they've dealt with throughout their life. Many have not dealt with this stuff, and they're trying to commingle a life with somebody else who probably haven't dealt with their stuff. And that's why I said earlier, get individual counseling and come as a whole person. Then you guys can get counseling together and figure out how to make it work. I think somebody like Morgan just has not dealt with her junk. This is why she liked toxic guys. This is why she put Nair in hair. This is why she exposed women publicly. This is why she do some of the things that she do. It's some stuff she hasn't dealt with. So there's no sense in her coming to counseling with Tony, because clearly there's some stuff Tony hasn't dealt with himself. Mr. Jesus,
Okay. All right. All right. Kimberly, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, great point on the individual counseling. I support 100% counseling, therapy in all walks of life, whether it's individual, couples, definitely before marriage. I would say yes, I'm with Morgan on this part, because you got to think about the process. This is not a normal process, so it's kind of rushed, and you're getting to know the person super fast, and you're, pushed to make a decision. And I think it's very important for them to get counseling early on. And then even us in our normal everyday relationships where you're meeting people, because you don't grow up with these people, you don't live in the same house. And even if you did, I look at my siblings and we're all different. So you imagine growing up in two different households, coming together, trying to make things work. One person is used to this, the other person is used to something separate. Yes, go to counseling, go to therapy. It's all necessary.
Okay, I see your point. Jay, what are your thoughts about counseling this early as a couple? Would you be for it, against it, or are you just neutral?
As a couple or this couple?
Uh no, just any couple, just in general, just couple counseling or counseling or coaching.
I'm always for some counseling, coaching, therapy, whatever you want to call it. I'm always for that. But in this particular case, or any case that has this many red flags in the beginning, it's useless, because all we're doing is trying to force a relationship at this point.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's the thing that Tommy is seeing, because Tommy has steadily been telling Morgan, what are all these red flags that you're seeing? How many red flags are those now? He's steadily saying that alone with her, with the women in the ladies' lounge. And I think, to your point, you're absolutely right. If there's this many red flags this early on, where you're supposed to be in the so-called honeymoon phase of a relationship, what is really going on here is that you're forcing the relationship. It's not meant to be. It's not, as Jay used the term earlier, it doesn't seem to be God sent.
No, especially how spiritual these two supposed to be.
Right.
He was
That's
spiritual
absolutely.
until he got that hot and heavy time.
Oh yeah, that hot and heavy time blew everything up.
That
Oh
demon
no,
time.
no. He was spiritual, Kimberly. He was screaming, "Oh God!" Trust me.
Oh no, we don't know which God he was screaming to. That's that demon time. See, that's what I'm saying.
Oh
Ooh,
no.
our
Oh
panelists
gosh.
are a mess, guys. You got to excuse them. They are a mess. If we could start with Kimberly, ladies first. We'll do Kimberly and Jay, and we'll end on magnetic repellent. He's so repellent. I mean, magnetic. Uh, Kimberly, would you tell us a little bit about what's going on your channel and where the people can find you, the name of the channel?
Yes, that was a good one though. Oh gosh, I can't even get myself together, but I am Kimberly Reviews, and you can find me here on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. We do a live watch of Married at First Sight, Ready to Love, as the episode is appearing, and then we chat about what's going on in the comment section. I also enjoy travel, so I post my travels, and I believe in being debt free. So I am a financial coach, and I can help you become debt free.
All right, I need to get over there then. I need to get. I'm over there
Yeah.
for the watches, but I got to come over there for the travel and the other stuff too. You are so multifaceted. I love that about you. You are just so multifaceted and so talented. Guys, go on
Thank
over and
you.
check her out. You're welcome. At Kimberly Reviews, she is awesome. She is all that and 2 bags of chips. And now let's talk to Jay and find out what's going on her channel.
Hey guys, I'm Jay from Another Round JS. You can catch me over there as well as on Instagram, Another Round _ JS. Go check out the channel. I have a new video up on colorism. So if you guys haven't checked that one out, I got some great panelists like Camille, Natasha, Seaway from Little Black Book. And
Ooh.
yeah, we had a good discussion on colorism in media for our first one for there. And we'll be having more discussions coming up because I'm gonna start just doing sharing some lives, maybe some stories, but just talking about love, finding love. And the next topic coming up is loving intentionally.
Ooh, I love that. Loving intentionally. All right. We will be over there for all of that. Oh, and I can't believe I missed the topic of colorism and media. That sounds very, very juicy. Send that to me and I'll post that on the community tab so people can find it. My viewers can find it even easier. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Magnetic.
Well, guys, listen, you can find me on IG, AWLeaf67 on IG. You can also, if you guys go to my channel, Magnetic Repellent, if you got things that you would like to hear me discuss or my opinions on, shoot me an email, magneticrepellent@gmail.com, and I will discuss some of those things if you guys want to hear my opinion on various topics and so forth. So, yeah, I'm easy to find. Facebook, Alex W. Leaf, look me up. We appreciate you guys always, and we'll catch up with you again in another couple of days.
Yeah, well, yeah, very soon, very soon. We'll be back. Tomorrow I'll be back with seeking brother husbands with Mocha Mima will be in the house tomorrow night at 6:30. And then the following night, Alex and I will be back and we'll finally converge on talking about Put a Ring on It. And there's a lot to catch up on, guys. There is so much to catch up on. Putting a ring on it. We will be talking about that. So please check us out and be here for that. Where's I just saw it. It's so hard scrolling back, finding all of these different links, but I appreciate my moderators. And guys, I want to thank you. If you're still here, go ahead and check that like button. You've been here for several minutes. You've been listening for half an hour, the whole time. Go ahead and like the video. It is so helpful to us as content creators to stay in the algorithm. It really means the world to us. We're rocking the channel, trying to get it to 2,000, and you subscribing now will really help that in that algorithm. And I thank you for being here. I want to thank our wonderful, gracious moderators extraordinaire. LMV and Monique King are 2 of the best in the business. I don't know how they do what they do, but they do it. And guys, if you guys are all say goodbye, we're going to get on out of here.
Take
Bye-bye. Love
care.
you.
Jay, I didn't hear yours.
Jay gone already.
She gone. She just got an emblem and she done already
Oh,
left.
I'm over here saying bye and I didn't realize I was on mute.
Okay, guys, we love you. We're out of here till the next time. See you later.
Bye.